Hi friends, welcome to the Lucid main session by Ekam IAS, and today we are going to discuss the topic Johnson & Johnson hip implants controversy. So to do this, we are going to look at our topics, and they are why in news, basics, how is hip replacement done, what kind of implants are at the center of current controversy, what problems arose with these, timeline of international response, to what extent has it happened in India, and timeline of the case in India, and what did the committee found, recommendations of the committee, and ethical issues concerned, and way forward. So first we can see why it came in news. An expert committee set up by the Health Ministry has indicated Johnson & Johnson for suppressing key facts on the harmful effects of the company's faulty hip replacement system. Withdrawn globally after complications required many patients to undergo revision surgery. Let's see the context. The government has constituted a 5-member expert committee to recommend on the amount of compensation for patients who have suffered from faulty Johnson & Johnson hip implants. Let's see a brief background regarding the case. The DePuy International Limited, that is DePuy, it's a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson, had engineered a metal-on-metal, that is, both the prosthetic ball and socket are made up of metal, mainly cobalt and chromium, hip replacement device. And the devices were used in more than 93,000 hip replacement surgeries international. However, soon there were complaints about the complication arising out of the implants. Many patients experienced serious adverse reaction due to metalosis, that is metal poisoning, and some required revision surgery to replace the ASR implant with another kind. Let's see the basic facts. First, let me explain what is a total hip replacement surgery. A total hip replacement surgery involves replacing the natural ball and socket of the hip with artificial ball which replaces the top of the thigh bone, and socket which replaces the hip socket. Please note that the shoulder and the hip joints are the only ball and socket joints of the body. Next we can see what is ASR. In case of articular surface replacement or ASR, both the ball and socket are made up of metal with cobalt, chromium and molybdenum as major constituents. Why ASR? The conventional total hip replacement consists of a metal head with a polyethylene cup, but these joints are not durable. Over time, the plastic cup wears away against the hard metal head, and thus people may require a revision surgery to replace the worn out joint. However, a metal-on-metal device, that is ASR, is more durable and is claimed to provide wider range of motion. Let's see what is the problem with ASR. The friction between head and the cup causes wear of metal parts, which results in tiny particles of metal debris. These metal debris are small enough to enter into the bloodstream. This leads to metal poisoning with resultant tissue damage, tumor inflammation and increased requirement of a revision surgery. Next we can look how is hip replacement done. The hip joint consists of a ball and socket which are covered with cartilage and surrounded by a lubricating membrane to protect against wear. In total hip replacement, all components are replaced with prosthetic components. Prosthetic components means artificial devices that are replacing a missing body part. So, while a metal stem is placed into the hollow center of the thigh bone, that is femur, the prosthetic ball, socket and cartilage can be placed of strong plastic, metal or ceramics. The commonest hip implants are metal on polyethylene and ceramic on polyethylene. Here you can see the hip bone and the head of the femur and the acetabulum of the hip bone. So moving on, what kind of implants are at the center of current controversy? So these are metal on metal with cobalt, chromium and molybdenum as major constituents and is called ASR, that is Articular Surface Replacement XL Acetabular System and ASR Hip Resurfacing System. These were being manufactured and sold for several years by DePuy International Limited, that is DePuy in UK, that's a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson. Here you can see the artificial implant used. It's a metal on metal implant that is being used in this diagram. And you can also see a plastic lining above that. Then, what problems arose with these? When the prosthetic ball and socket rub against each other, it causes wear. If the implant is metal on metal, this can sometimes release metallic debris into the bloodstream. This can lead to complications, sometimes requiring a revision surgery. Of the 93,000 patients implanted with ASR worldwide, many experienced serious adverse reactions and some requiring a revision surgery to replace the ASR implant with another kind. Because of this, the company recalled the product in 2010 and many patients reported general fatigue or local issues such as pseudotumor, pain while walking, metallosis. Metallosis means increase in cobalt and chromium levels, and asthenozoospermia, that means a condition that is reduced sperm motility, and cyst in kidney. And here you can see in the what replaces what, here you can see the diagrammatic representation of metal implant used. Here in the diagram it is shown a chromium and cobalt implant. So this diagram depicts the effect of metal wear and the usual problems that are caused due to this metal on metal implant. Next we can see a timeline of international response. So in 2003, Johnson & Johnson marketed ASR overseas after the Food and Drug Administration rejected its sale in the United States based on a review of company safety studies. However, the J&J continued sale on related model in USA, which did not require a similar safety review due to a regulatory loophole. In 2005, the doctors started issuing warnings on the defects and complications arising out of the implant. By 2009, Australia became the first country in the world to take regulatory action to ensure the removal of the DePuy ASR hip replacement from the market. In 2010, J&J took initiative to recall the devices globally due to increasing number of resurgeries. And in 2013, J&J announced $2.5 billion on ASR settlement for around 8,000 patients in US. This is an international timeline of the response. Here you can see the DePuy hip litigation guide. That is how much people are given money or the metal poisoning status, then FDA compliance, then those people, amount of people who required a revision surgery, etc. Moving on, to what extent has it happened in India? In India, the company got the license to import the device in 2006. By the time it was recalled worldwide, an estimated 4,700 ASR implants had been done in the country. Amid concerns worldwide, the Health Ministry set up an expert committee headed by Dr. Arun Kumar Agarwal in 2017 to examine issues arising out of faulty ASR implants in India. The committee reviewed action taken by the company to replace faulty ASR implants and reviewed compensation provided to those who had suffered. Next we can see a timeline of the case in India. In 2006, J&J got the license to import the device in India. In 2010, CDSCO issued import license to DePuy for implants on the basis of renewed registration. In 2011, Maharashtra FDA filed a first information report, that is FIR, against Johnson & Johnson after getting an anonymous complaint about a patient suffering a serious adverse reaction. In 2012, Maharashtra FDA asked the regulator Central Drug Standard Control Organization, that is CDSCO, to cancel the J&J's import license for not taking proper remedial measures or creating awareness about the defective. In 2012, CDSCO cancelled the product's import and marketing. By 2013, CDSCO and Health Ministry received grievances on ASR implants and discussed with DePuy. It also issued a medical device alert on ASR implants. In 2017, Health Ministry set up an expert committee headed by Arun Kumar Agarwal to examine issues arising out of faulty ASR implants in India. Next, we can see what did the committee found. The committee concluded that not only did patients undergo revision after first surgery, but in some cases more than one revision surgeries have been performed. Some of the patients had reported that they had to undergo excruciating pain. Many patients reported general fatigue or local issues such as pseudotumor, pain while walking, metalosis, then acinoospermia, cyst in kidney, claudication pain, etc. So, besides these physical problems, some of them informed that they are still having difficulty in carrying out their routine activities and are confined to bed, which has led them to mental turmoil and agony. The cost of revision surgery was reimbursed either by the company or the insurance firm. The patients are still skeptical about their future with the implant in their body. Next, we can see the recommendations of the committee. First, compensation and reimbursement. The company should be made liable to pay at least Rs 20 lakh to each patient with such complication, and the reimbursement program be extended until August 2025. Then, expert committees. A central expert committee and a regional expert committee should be constituted by the Ministry of Evaluation of Patient Claims in respect of disability and suffering caused due to the use of faulty ASR. The regional committee will determine whether there is permanent disability and whether such disability has affected or will affect the patient's earning capacity, and it will then submit its report to the Central Expert Committee. The Central Expert Committee will determine the quantum of the compensation, and it has recommended that the maximum amount be at par with the maximum granted for clinical trial related death and permanent disability as per rules and guidelines of the Drug Controller General of India. With 3,600 patients yet to trace, the firm has to give due diligence to trace those remaining patients who have received ASR but have not registered with the helpline. Next is the health assessment. Health assessment of patients should be reported once a year till 2025, and complaints report periodically, preferably 6 monthly, submitted to the ministry. Follow-up should be done regularly. Next, a registry. An independent registry should be established for tracking usage of high-risk medical devices. Next, medical device rules. Provisions for compensation should be included in medical device rules if any serious adverse event or death is caused due to the sole use of a medical device. That is medical device rules. Next, we can see the ethical issues concerned. That is first regarding doctors. Doctors in the company for monetary gains have compromised the principle of beneficence, professional integrity, and also have eroded the trust of the people and profession. Then company, that is Johnson and Johnson. Absence of professional standards, suppression of facts, varied content like compensating in US but not in India, pursuance of profits at the cost of human suffering. Then government, conceived policy formulation leading to uncontrolled globalization without taking into account its adverse consequence, weak and inefficient accountability standards and place ineffective regulatory mechanisms. Then regulatory authorities. Basic provision of code of conduct floated owing to laxous attitude, red tapeism, corruption, negligence and non-compassionate attitude towards beneficiaries. Then last, patients. Right to healthy life, efficient medical care, right to justice and compensation, breach of trust, etc. Next we can discuss a way forward. It is imperative that India use the learnings from the ASR case to take corrective steps. There is an urgent need to strengthen and accelerate the meteorovigilance program and implementing rigorous risk monitoring and post-market follow-up of new devices wherever necessary. The committee recommendation on registries to facilitate tracking of high-risk medical devices should be discussed and speedily implemented. That's all regarding the topic, and thank you for listening.